ladies and guys who want to respect the women that they have sexual coital intercourse with. Andy here, author of the best Tinder guide on the internet. This is the Killer and a Loser show. Let's fucking go. I'm joined with my semi-retarded, semi-autistic girlfriend that I love very much, and she's absolutely not autistic and not retarded. We are going to talk about... Hello, by the way.
Hi.
We're going to talk about how to, or it is your mission to make your partner someone that you can respect. It's your mission to respect your partner. Now, why did I just call my partner retarded and autistic? Because that's called irony. So, I stole this concept, or I took this concept. I've pieced it together from a little bit of Mark Manson, who did an article where he reached out to 1,000 people who had been in long-term relationships. So you had to have been together for like 15 years. And
I thought it was his mailing list.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
And 1,000 people who had been in relationships for longer than 15 years replied. And his question was, why are you still with your partner? What kept you guys together? And the number one common thread was respect. I have to be able to respect my partner. That's why I think it worked, because I respect my partner and they respect me. And the ones who replied and who had been through divorces where it didn't work out said I couldn't respect my partner. So respect is a very important thing. I also have pieced this together from a quote that Jordan Peterson said, where he said, you should never let your children do anything that would make you dislike them. That's your number one mission as a parent, to like your children. And it is your job as their parent to not let them do things that would make you dislike them. I see so many parents, and so does he evidently, who seem to have this very passive mindset when it comes to raising their kids. Like, oh, my kid's just a little shit, or my kid is an asshole. It's like, that's your mission to make them not an asshole, you fucking cunt. Like, it's your... I shouldn't say cunt. Now this is not going to get monetized. Whatever. Cunt. You are a cunt-loving, cuntish cunt if you let your kids be dislikable. That's your one mission as a parent. So I took a little bit of Mark Manson, a little bit of Jordan Peterson, smushed them together, and I realized your mission in a relationship, hell, even a casual relationship, is to make your partner someone that you can respect. Like, that's your mission. Respect has to be absolutely there, and this even applies to casual relationships, as we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah, I think another reason that, and obviously I'm sure we'll get to it, that it is so crucial is it's also you telling yourself that I only engage with people that I respect.
Absolutely.
Because if you're having sex with somebody that you don't respect, that speaks for your own self-worth.
Yes.
And how you perceive yourself.
Yes, you clearly don't respect yourself if you're fucking people you don't respect. Now, give a quick caveat. If you're at the early stages where you're just getting your sex life together and you're hungry for more experience and stuff like that, you know, male or female, if you're in the beginning stages where you're figuring all this stuff out, sure. Maybe you sleep with a few people that you don't fully respect, and then afterwards, you know, it kind of falls apart or whatever, like it usually does, or you realize like, oh, okay, I don't think I want to keep having sex with this person because I don't really like them. Fine. That's kind of what happens at the start. But generally speaking, the further along you go, you want to make it so that you respect the people that you're sleeping with. And this is an active process, and that's the point that Jordan Peterson makes, and it's the point that I'm going to make here. It's not just about seeking out people you respect. It's also gently guiding and communicating and pushing the people that you sleep with, and especially the people you date, to be people that you can respect. It's your mission. Don't have this sort of passive... I see too many people having this like passive sort of role in a relationship, and they go, oh, you know, my partner started doing this and I don't really like that, so I guess I'm going to have to break up with them. And it's like, did you ever tell them that you don't like that? Or that you would prefer if they tried something different? And by the way, you can't control someone, but you can still communicate and say, hey, you know, I don't like that thing you're doing. Would you like to try something else that might work better? A lot of the time when you just have that conversation, the other person's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll stop doing that. I didn't even know that bothered you. Of course I'll stop. I like you and I respect you and I want to keep seeing you, so of course I'll stop that. But too many people don't even have that conversation and then sort of just have this passive like, oh, I stopped liking them. We kind of faded. We drifted apart. And it's like, you got to take an active role in relationships and casual relationships. Like, it has to be up to you. You can't just say like, oh, hopefully we be together and hopefully we still respect each other in fucking a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. No. You got to have a passive, sorry. You got to have an assertive mindset here.
Yeah. Like, obviously with the Jordan Peterson example about your children, you have far more influence over what they can and can't do.
Correct.
And that is where you can literally say, like, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
You are doing that.
I'm not going to let you go out and shoot heroin into your penis as my 12-year-old son. Yeah, you can't be shooting heroin into your penis because I wouldn't respect that. Yeah.
Whereas obviously, yeah, like you said, there is the caveat of, like, you're not trying to control the other person and make sure they do every single thing that you want them to.
Correct.
It's about, I guess, voicing that and trying to have an influence if you can, or suggesting.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, you know, I'm a very big proponent on the non-aggression principle, on not controlling other people, not forcing other people to do what you want to do, not manipulating people and stuff like that. What we're talking about here is basically communication, like gently telling people what you want and pushing them in that direction. It's also about building each other up. So even if you're dating someone casually, if there's some behavior that you think is counterintuitive to her goals, for instance, like let's say there's a girl that's seeing you're just dating casually even, and she says, I really want to lose a bunch of weight. And then every time she sees you, she says, oh, I just sat around watching Netflix and I ate a bunch of junk food, right? I'm not telling you to say like, right, you're banned from junk food and Netflix. No. Gently push her in the direction that you would like, that would make you respect her. So say like, hey, have you signed up? Have you gone to the gym? And maybe she's like, I don't know, I'm nervous to go to the gym. And then you say like, hey, do you have any friends that go to the gym? And she might say like, well, you know, my friend Sarah goes. And then you say, right, get your phone out right now, text Sarah and tell her that you want to go to the gym and you're nervous and you want her to go with her. And then she'll be like, okay, and she'll do it. And then guess what? A week later, she comes back and she goes, hey, I went to the gym. I've been to the gym twice this week. Now you can respect her a little more. Her actions are in line with her goals. You're helping her. Remember, this isn't about controlling people and making them do what you want. It's more about pushing them in a direction that's helpful for them at the end of the day. Like, especially if they tell you they have a goal and they're just not working on it or they're making excuses. Push them in a direction that would make you respect them. And at the end of the day, you're going to respect someone that is working on their goals. In terms of like actual examples, it's like me when I first met you. And after we'd been together for a couple of months, you and your like binge eating disorder. And bulimia. I couldn't respect someone that had an addiction and wasn't actively working on it. Sure. And I wanted to respect you and I wanted to keep seeing you. So I pushed you to work on that stuff. I said, right, you got to tell your mum. You have to tell your mother that you have this issue. Like your mother is, you know, you're the best person to have in your corner. You're very close with your mother. I like your mother. She's very fucking logical and helpful with this shit. So I said, you got to tell your fucking mother. And so you know, you were hesitant to do it, but you knew that it would be helpful for you, so you did it. And then I said, right, you got to go to a counselor. So you did that. And then I said, right, you got to like read some books, do some research on like how to overcome bulimia, how to deal with this shit. Go and find some forums, go and start tackling this shit and see it as what it is, which is something to work on rather than just like part of you, which was kind of what you had said. You were like, oh, it's just who I am. You know, I can't help it. So I pushed you in that direction because I knew that I couldn't be with you long term. For even for a few more months, I couldn't have even dated you casually if you were bulimic and binge eating. Like, no way in fucking hell, because I can't respect that. So I gently pushed you in the direction that I knew would make me respect you more.
Yeah.
You were grateful for it?
Yeah, and at that point in time, I was willing to, or it was something that I wanted to work on and fix or move past, whatever you want to call it. So that was definitely in line with what I wanted to. And like you said, like obviously, like if I wasn't going to do that or take those actions, it would just kind of be like an amicable like parting of ways, and you say like, okay, like that's not,
I can't respect you, so I'm sorry, but like I'm not going to fuck you. And you guys, you will find this even if you are at the stages where you're looking for sexual experience. If there's a girl that you just really can't respect, you'll have sex with her a few times and you'll just find after like the 5th or 6th or 7th time, even if you're a guy with no options, after you've had sex with her enough times, I see this every single time, even guys who have no options, and they'll just say like, I don't know, I can't stand her anymore. I can't stand her. What you got to do is push her in a direction, or gently push her in a direction that would help you respect her. So here's another example. A girl because I keep bringing up that this is casual, or this applies to casual relationships. A girl that we're seeing casually right now, she flaked on us the other night. And she didn't tell us that she kept saying like, I'm coming, I'm just going to be a bit late. And then like half an hour after she was supposed to already be at our apartment, she goes, hey, I don't think I can come tonight. You know, some bullshit. Like my mother's coming over tonight and I want to spend the evening with her, right? Just like absolute bullshit. And my first thought was, I even said to you, I can't fucking respect that. That's really annoying. I don't appreciate being flaked on 30 minutes after you're supposed to already be here. Like, tell me 2 hours before, or tell me an hour before, or keep your appointments. You know what I mean? Like, your mother's coming over. Congratulations. You live like an hour from your mother anyway. You see her several times a week. The fuck does it matter if your mother's coming over? Just come over and see us and then go see your mother. So I said that to you. And I even said to you, like, I said to you, I'm not going to make a decision right now, but that's already like, that's pissing me off. Like, I already have less respect for her now. And generally speaking, when I tell you I have less respect for a girl, that's the precursor to me then saying, let's not see her anymore. Right? As soon as I lose respect for a girl, I'm like, and this is just, sure, this is just one little thing, but she had already flaked like a week before. So we're already like moving in that direction where I'm starting to think like, okay, is this girl going to be a flaker? Like, 3 weeks from now, am I going to end things with her? So we're in that situation. And in those situations, I don't want to lose respect for the girls that I sleep with. That's the whole point of this podcast. Don't let yourself lose respect for the girls that you're sleeping with. It's not a passive thing. It's not like happening to you. Like, she flaked on us and I lost respect. So I got you to text her and I said to you, tell her that we'll order her a fucking Uber. She can come over and we'll just play for half an hour, and then we'll order her an Uber back home, and then she can be at her mother's. She can be back home to see her mother at 6:30 p.m. Right? So she's got the whole evening. And she replied, "Okay, that sounds good." And she came over. We had crazy, insane sex, like utterly fucking insane sex.
It's very intense.
It was pretty fucking intense. It was pretty crazy. And can you stop dying on the air? By the way, that's really fucking harshing my vibe, son. And she went home. It was a good evening. And after that, I said to you, you even pointed it out. You said, like, that was a good example. That's why we're doing this podcast right now. You said that's a good example of you making sure you could respect her. And I did. I respect her now because she came over. She didn't flake. She's not a flaker now. So don't let personality traits and negative personality traits, they're not necessarily set in stone. Too many guys will do this. They will say, oh, this girl's a flaker. This girl is unreliable. This girl is bitchy. This girl is passive aggressive. And it's like, she doesn't have to be. You can guide her and gently push her. I see this in my group coaching right now. There's one guy who's asking about a girl that he's sleeping with, and she said something really passive aggressive. And I said to him, a couple of other people said the same thing, but I said, mate, you got to like jump in there and send her a text and or sit down and talk to her and just say like, look, honest communication is something that's very important to me. Can you please tell me what's on your mind? If something's bothering you, tell me exactly what it is and we can deal with it. Like, basically a nice way of saying stop being fucking passive aggressive. Like, I expect you to use your words like an adult and tell me what's going on. And so that's the kind of stuff we're talking about here. Instead of, he could have just said, oh, she's a passive aggressive girl. Like, should I dump her? Which was kind of, he didn't ask it like that, but that was kind of where he was heading. And that would be the advice that most people would give him. They would say, she's passive aggressive. That's a deal breaker. Drop her. I say, no. Yeah, drop her if you try and guide her and she's still passive aggressive, but at least give it a fucking shot. Have a conversation, say, hey, I expect you to be honest, because you will find most people will meet you when you tell them what you expect, especially if you're telling them something that is something most people want to work towards. Most people want to work towards not being passive aggressive assholes. Most people don't want to be bitches. Most people don't want to be unreliable. So if you can, most people don't want to be lazy and fat. So if you can gently push them towards the things that would make you respect them more, most people will be appreciative of that.
Yeah, and exactly. Like you said, most people want to be all of the positive things.
Correct.
And that's like a big part of why this would obviously be very applicable to like not just like somebody that you're seeing, like a sexual partner, but like friends, family.
Yeah, this doesn't just apply to relationships.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
ultimately at the end of the day, you want to be surrounding yourself with people that you respect.
Yeah.
Because I think you hear it so often as well that you like people like, ugh, I hate like this friend. She's like, you know, she's a bit bitchy. She's a bit passive aggressive, or like my brother or sister or mother is very manipulative. Like you get that stuff all of the time. And I think that, yeah, when you try and guide people, or at least like assert like behavior that you would like to see in
it's
other
almost
people.
just communication.
Yeah.
Just like telling them, you don't even have to say, hey, I don't want you to be passive aggressive. The best way is usually to tell them the behavior that you do expect, or the behavior that you want, or the behavior that would be more becoming of them, or the behavior that would help their life. And you can push it that way. Like, again, if someone's like over drinking, you can say like, man, imagine how much you could get done if you weren't like, imagine how much you could get done if you were sober. Like, why don't we try being sober each? Why don't we do a challenge each? Let's go be sober for 2 weeks. That's you pushing someone towards, something that would make you respect them more without being a nagging, controlling freak.
Yeah. Like basic psychology says focus on the positive thing rather than like what you don't want to happen on the negative.
Yeah, for sure. Let's give some examples of how you have pushed, because this works both ways, by the way. I have pushed you towards making, like, you're very likable to me. I've said that to you a million times now. You're very easy to be with. And a huge part of that is because I've pushed you to be. I taught you self-improvement. I taught you how to change. I taught you how to set goals and how to work towards them, how to be someone who's on this mission with me. And guys, by the way, if you're into self-improvement, absolutely push the girls that you date, even just casual relationships, push them. Like the girl that we're sleeping with right now, the second time we slept with her, she mentioned like, oh, I make some jewelry in my part-time. And you and I gently pushed her at that point in time and said like, you should sell it for way more than you're selling it. You should absolutely do this, more of this, you should build this into a business. That doesn't necessarily mean that she will. Again, you can't control people, but like gently pushing them in that sort of direction. Yeah. You've even done this with your friends. You pushed your friend, you know which one I mean, to like start her own business. You got her to come over and ask me for advice, and you did that because, again, this applies to friends as well as sexual relationships. You want your friends to be people you can respect. That's another thing that too many guys do. They say like, oh, my friends all just sit around smoking weed and they're all losers and stuff. And it's like, have you ever tried to get them into self-improvement? And they'll go like, well, no. And it's like, well, at least try. Yeah, you may not be able to influence them. That's a possibility, but at least fucking try. And if you can't, then you have your answer. You go like, okay, I definitely can't respect these guys because I tried to help them and they wouldn't even take me up on the help. So yeah, now I have my answer. Now I definitely don't respect them. Okay, I'll just hang out with them less, or I'll keep it to a super casual friendship or something. But it works both ways. You've done this with me as well. And that's one of the benefits of pushing your partner or a casual relationship to being someone that you can respect is a lot of the time, once they get a little further along, they start pushing you too. Like you almost become each other's accountability partners. And so stuff you have pushed me on is not drinking. When I was drinking like fucking crazy last year during the lockdowns, which I love how we're still having lockdowns a year later. Let's not deviate into that side point. Please someone come at me and tell me how scary COVID is.
Or don't.
Yeah, please don't.
Because then we have to have a conversation about it and how
I know fucking retards in the comments will be like, COVID, you think that COVID isn't real? Well, it's because you're in Australia and COVID's actually really scary in America. Shit. More than one person has died and I'm so scared. Anyway.
We digress.
That's a huge digression. I'm going to get negative comments now. You stopped me, or you helped push me in that direction of not drinking as much last year, which I really fucking appreciated. You were one of like 3 people that really pushed me towards not drinking.
Yeah, that and I guess like during that time as well, like not focusing on the negativity.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. You even did it 2 seconds ago when I started like having a little ramble about COVID, right? And that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. You definitely pushed me to build my coaching business up and get to a point where we could pay the bills, because that would have made you respect me. You can respect me more if I'm not drinking. You can respect me more if I have a coaching business and we can pay the bills. You pushed me to go to the gym. And when we say pushing, it's not like you forced me or controlled me. I wanted that stuff and you knew that you would respect me more if I did it. So of course that means you want me to do it. And so you share that enthusiasm and tell me like, hey, I want you to go to the gym.
Yeah, like even from my perspective, as somebody who, and maybe your audience might find that it's hard to tell, if you're not practicing doing it, it's hard to tell people that you want something and like tell them that, like, I would like you to do this. That's a lot harder. So even now I often find it, because I know that you're very stubborn and you choose to do exactly what you want to do.
Correct.
So if I want to push you to do something or encourage something, quite often I would say, have you thought about doing this, or would you like to do this, or do you think you will do this? Yeah. And
yeah, it doesn't even have to be forcing. It's just like putting that idea in the person's head. I mean, that works half the time. Like, especially with stuff that you can't really force someone to do, like going to the gym. Like, if we want one of the girls that we're seeing to start going to the gym or something, I can't just be like, we could say, hey, we want you to go to the gym. Some of the that does work with some people, sure. But what usually works is like, hey, have you ever thought about like how cool it would be to go to the gym, and how, like, have you ever wanted to add more muscle? Have you ever wanted to tone your body up? You know, have you ever like, do you want this, basically? You're basically saying, do you want this? And that has to be a key caveat that we add here. If the person doesn't want to do it, you can't make them do it. In fact, that would make you respect them less. If you push them around and just force them to do stuff that you know they don't want to do, but they're doing it because you manipulated them into it or whatever, you can't respect them. The part of the loneliness from a sociopath or a psychopath, part of the reason that they can be very lonely is because they can't respect anyone. Because everyone that they manipulate, they don't respect. They don't even see them as human a lot of the time. Because how can you respect someone that's a little bitch? I won't go into a big tangent here about governments, and we'll keep that tangent going. But you also pushed me to not be passive, to be more masculine. And I'm pretty fucking masculine and not very passive anyway. But you keep me accountable with that. That's a better way of saying it. And so if I ever have a negative day, you will push me back on track. The Red Pill talks a lot about like how women won't be able to respect you if you're a pussy, which I absolutely obviously agree with. But one thing I think they miss is that a good partner, and a good partner is one that you have like pushed, like I've pushed you to be a good partner.
Sure.
By doing everything we're talking about here, by making you someone I can respect. A good partner that you respect and that respects you won't let you be a little beta, as they call it. Like they won't want you to, because you can sense in yourself that if I was to become very passive for a long period of time, you wouldn't respect me anymore and you wouldn't want to be with me. And so it's almost like there's a safety net that you wouldn't let that happen. Like a guardrail where you're like, I don't want you to be passive because you're supposed to be, or you are my assertive man. I don't want you to be passive too much. I can be passive sometimes. We all have bad days. I can be a little bitch sometimes. We all have bad days, but
yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not coming from like, I want to control you and this is what I want. It's always coming from like, I guess in our case, like I love you and I want us to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. Like it's not this angry controlling, like you've got to do what I want to do. It's
and some guys take it too far and take it as that. Like whenever I do a podcast like this, or I talk about mentoring women or mentoring your partners, I should say, whenever I talk about guiding people to be the person that you would respect, some people, not many, but every now and then someone will take it the wrong way and they'll be controlling, they'll be manipulative, they'll say like, oh, so my girlfriend right now doesn't want to fuck me, I should just make her fuck me. And it's like, I mean, not real. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you can't make, or my girlfriend works a waitress job. Should I, and I don't respect that, should I forbid her from working there? Should I force her to quit? And it's like, no, fuck no. You can't force some. How would you respect a girl that just does whatever shit you tell her to? You wouldn't respect that. What you would do is sit down and say, listen, have you ever wanted to, like, what do you want? What are your goals? Like, hey, do you want to start a business or something? What do you want a career? Do you want to go to university and study something and be something? Like, what do you want? You would sit down and ask her what she wants, what her like big goals are, her pipe dream goals, things she thinks can't even happen. You'd ask her about those, and then you'd go, okay, how do we do step one of that? That's how you push someone to be someone you respect. And I did that with you as well. I asked you, like, what do you want? You said at that time you wanted to work at that design, you wanted to do a design job, like 3D modeling, that kind of thing, product design, prototyping and stuff. You wanted to do that, and you were at university. And I felt myself, I was like, I can't respect someone that will go to university for 3 years and then
5.5
or 5.5 fucking years, and then have to do an internship for a year and then get a job. I was like, I can't respect that. Generally speaking, this is a side tangent, I don't respect most people who go to university unless, so back that up, I don't respect people who go to university when they don't have to. That's a better way of phrasing it. And if you want to go to university, like you really want to study something, fine, that's a different story. But like the people who will want like a very basic job where you could just shortcut that and go and get the job right now. Photography is the best one. Photography is the best one. Anything arts related is the best one. It's like, just go and do that right this second. Why are you studying at university for 3 years? Because you're too scared to actually jump in. Like you think that 3 years of preparation, no, that's you being a pussy. It's like if you went and studied for 3 years on how to talk to women. It's like, just go outside and talk to women. You're going to do a terrible job. You're going to be nervous. It's going to be terrifying, but you're still going to be terrified in 3 years once you've studied for 3 years. You won't be less terrified. you won't even be more prepared because you would have had 3 years to build up the nervousness and make it into a bigger deal than it has to be. So, and again, I want to make that clear. If you're going to university for something where you need to go to university, fine. Like, plus, why do you give a shit if I respect you or not? It's funny whenever I like say something like that, people will defend. Not a lot of people, but every now and then someone will defend, and then I'm like, why do you give a fuck what I have to think about you? I mean, I appreciate the compliment. You're literally saying that I'm more important than you, that my opinion of you matters, but really it shouldn't. Like, I'm just some fucking pleb on the internet. You also pushed me. Well, I guess we can say, like, you want to be able to respect me, and you want me to respect you.
Definitely.
And so you have pushed me in those directions. I've definitely pushed you in those directions. I push most of the girls we sleep with in those directions. Yeah. Even in the most casual relationship, if she says, you know, I want to look super lean or I want abs or something, I will ask almost every week, like, how'd your workouts go this week? What did you do? Did you go to the gym? Was it good? Like, that's the kind of pushing that we're talking about here. I think we've made it fairly clear that it has to be stuff that the person actually wants to do, but you can still plant those seeds. Yeah,
if anything, it's more, it's planting seeds and encouragement more than like punishment or like controlling behavior.
Yeah. Another thing you can do once you've seen someone for, I wouldn't do this with an ultra casual relationship, but if you've seen someone for a couple of months and, you know, you guys are starting to like each other, even just a casual partnership or casual relationship, but you've seen each other for a little bit, you can sit down and have a conversation, or you can write a fucking list or whatever you want to do and write out what your deal breakers are and what you want in a partner, like what you're looking for, you know, what kind of things you want to work towards, especially if you're talking about like a serious relationship, like a boyfriend, girlfriend, you've been together for like 6 months. Side note, I don't recommend you make it official until you've been dating for about 6 months. I think most of you guys need to hear that shit. Too many of you get into a relationship in the first like fucking month of casual relationship, and then it's like, come on, like, why are you calling each other girlfriend, boyfriend and shit? Just like wait a little bit. You can see each other. You don't have to be like official. We're in love, because you'll break up like a month later, and then yeah. But once you are serious, you can sit down and basically talk about what your deal breakers are, what you're looking for in a partner. And a lot of the time, you'll find when the other person tells you what they want in a partner, you look at it and you're like, do you know what? That'd actually be cool if I could be that, or if I could do that, or if I could act that way. Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, thank you for telling me that. That's really cool. Like some of the stuff I told you, you're like, yeah, shit, I want to do that. And half the stuff you told me, I'm like, yeah, I want to be those things. You know, you told me you want like a big, strong man. So it's like, yeah, that's what I want. I want to go to the gym and get fucking huge. Yeah.
Sure. Disclaimer, I feel like, not that I would necessarily know firsthand, but most people, especially if you're not into self-improvement, would probably just be like, I want someone that's nice to me. And I want someone
these
that's
have to be,
not going to cheat on me.
These have to, those, fine, say, write those down because those are good. You do need to talk about this stuff. We should do a podcast on this as well. Like, too many people in relationships don't even have a conversation of what they want in a partner. They never even consider talking about deal breakers or what they're looking for or any of that shit. They just kind of let a relationship happen. And they never actually sit down and say, hey, do you want kids one day? Do you want this? And like, they don't even talk about the big stuff.
We were seeing a very pretty ginger girl for a while who just got out of a long-term relationship.
I know who you mean, yep.
I want to say it was like 4+ years.
She was with a partner for a long time.
Or maybe more, like, I want to say maybe
it was a long time.
7.
They'd been dating since like high school, and she was like mid-20s when we met her.
And they'd only just broken up because he didn't want kids and she did.
Yeah,
and I was like, how did that not come up earlier?
Because people don't talk about this shit, and I don't understand why. It's fucking weird to me. My friend in Melbourne, you know who I mean, who, when I met him, had just had a divorce after he'd been with his wife for 9 years, and they divorced because he didn't want kids and she did. And they'd never actually properly talked about that. And it was only when she was like 28 and she's getting to that point where she's like, I need to fucking have kids now. And he's dragging his heels, and then he's like, you know what? I don't think I want kids. And it's like, why don't you fucking cunts talk about that before marriage, for fuck's sakes? What the fuck is wrong with you two?
To be fair, he was someone that was very like, oh,
he was incredibly passive, and, like, and he was very bad at telling the truth.
I could see that happening the whole time, but anyway, not
yeah.
relevant.
And so you could say that was her failure because she didn't respect him. That's why they ended up breaking up. She would have benefited from this podcast, from pushing him to actually be respectful, be worthy of respect, I should say. She couldn't respect him. That's why they ended up breaking up. She slowly lost her respect for him over like a 9-year period. That's a whole different issue. But yeah, if she had done what we're talking about here and pushed him to be worthy of respect, or just found a man that she could respect in the first place, which is always an option, by the way. You don't have to make your partner someone that you can be worthy of respect. Sometimes you just meet people like that. But yeah, different side topic. We'll talk about that at some point. But yeah, writing lists, working out what your deal breakers are, working out what kind of person you want. That's more for serious relationships, for like girlfriend, boyfriend. I wouldn't even.
Yeah, of course.
Do
You
that.
don't get out the piece of paper for your casual relationship.
Yeah, don't do that with a girl you just met off Tinder
scare
the
her.
third time you have
She'll
sex.
freak
Yeah,
out.
that's a bit fucking over the top. But even then, you can start like gently hinting at it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, it's like that post-sex conversation of like, what are your deal breakers? Do you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
anything-
yeah. Perfect.
You're
Yeah.
just, like,
What are you
chit-chatting in
looking
bed.
for? You have
Yeah.
those kind of conversations. Yeah. Are you looking for monogamous? Is it, I'm sleeping with other women? Are you fine with that? Like you have those kind of conversations. I recommend having those as early as possible. What else was I going to say? I was going to say something else. Yeah, but you can kind of like drop those hints. So you could start, like if you want a monogamous relationship with a girl, you can kind of just drop those kind of hints and say like, by the way, what are you looking for? I'd have this conversation after you've slept together a couple of times. What are you looking for? By the way, I'm looking for something like a little more like monogamous and serious, but no rush, like we'll get there when we get there, but that's just what I'm like ultimately going for. Or if you're looking for an open relationship, you just say like, that's where I'm going. Obviously don't pressure them and say, right now, are you going to be monogamous with me the second time you have sex? That's a little like too intense. But yeah, just dropping those hints. You can even drop other hints and say like, I really want a girl who's ambitious. You could just say shit like that. And she'll say like, well, what does that mean? You're like, like a woman that wants to like start her own business or help me with mine, or like she wants to be into self-improvement. She wants to make herself a better woman. Most girls, by the way, will hear that shit and say like, well, yeah, that actually sounds really good. Yeah, I've never been into self-improvement, but I haven't met anyone who's like, who rejects self-improvement. So if you just drop the hint and say,
I disagree with that statement. People are like, oh, self-improvement is so like...
Okay, fine. I chop them out of my life. So fine. There are plenty of people like that, but we don't keep those people around. Fine. But most people that you will meet, when you mention self-improvement, they'll say like, fuck yeah. Especially if you guys, most of you listening, you're into self-improvement, obviously. You wouldn't be fucking listening. If you just share that enthusiasm with girls, most of the time, that's enough to push them in this direction. So is there anything else you would like to add, young lady, on the topic of respect and making your partner someone or pushing them in a direction where you can respect them?
No, just don't be a controlling dick and surround yourself with people that you respect.
And if you don't, or if they start doing things that aren't worthy of respect, just push them in the general direction, especially if it's something that they don't want to be doing. Most people don't want to be doing stuff that makes other people like not respect them as much. Most people don't want that. And so if you call them out and say like, hey, even just your bros, like, hey bro, like, I noticed that you've played video games for like the last 15 days straight for 8 hours a day. Why don't we go hit on some chicks together? Or why don't we go to the gym together, man? Or do you want to go for a walk, dude? Like just pushing them in that direction. And most of your bros will be like, yeah, man, that's cool. And like, they'll be grateful that you push them out of that rut. So don't take a passive stance here and just go like, oh, it's not my fault. I can't help it if the women I date just are deal breakers or they're fucking flakers or they're unreliable. It's like, yes, you can. They might not even know that they're doing this deal breaker behavior. They might not even know that they're not earning your respect. And if you tell them, half the time they'll be like, oh shit, I want your respect, so I'm going to do that thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you have almost complete control of your like external environment.
Yeah.
And how your life plays out.
Yeah. All right, guys, as always, go out, crush your goals. We forgot to say it at the start of this podcast, but this is like, we only have like 6 more of these to go before I've finished my 365 project. I'm doing one of these a day, have done so for almost a year, and we've only got 6 to go, so we've got to celebrate that. We will do a celebration in the next couple of days. We'll do like a big episode or something. I don't even know what we'll do, but we'll do something special. Go out, crush your goals, guys. Hugs and kisses. Give them hugs and kisses.